Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast, where we interview experts in driver recruiting. We provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to help you level up your recruiting game. Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Craddock, and today we have the top 9 recruiting tips from 2024. And it was really hard to narrow it down to just 9 clips from the year because we had so many incredible guests. But I really hope you guys enjoy these 9 clips from 2024 from our amazing guests. So our first highlight, retaining drivers through personal relationships. Luke shares how loyalty and respect will go much further than an extra penny per mile.
If a driver moves from us to a company that's lateral to us, there's a reason behind that. It's not pay. The driver may ultimately believe it's pay. People believe it's pay. People chalk it up to pay. But people leave people. They don't leave jobs. Right? So if I'm going to be a flatbed driver and I'm going to drive for McElroy or P&S or TMC or Montgomery or whoever, doesn't matter. They're all going to pay about the same. There may be a few pennies, a couple bucks more, but they offer different things. One company may offer to stay out more. One company may offer to be home more, right? But at the end of the day, what can you truly offer a driver that nobody else offers him? And to offer them a personal relationship is hard to find. And if you can offer a driver a personal relationship with a dispatcher, personal relationship with the operations manager, personal relationship with the load planner, with the safety guy, everywhere he goes or she goes, they have a personal relationship, that is gold. Because how many of us wake up every day, doesn't matter what industry you're in, they don't like their job. Why don't you like your job? Because you don't like the people you work with. You don't like this one person in the office. You don't like this one person on the field, right? So operationally, when I speak operationally, the whole operation, recruiting, safety, everything, if I can get people to believe to build relationships, if I build relationships with my people, with the people that report to me, the dispatchers, the recruiters, everybody, if they realize they have a relationship to me and I make it an enjoyable place to work, that goes out into the fleet. They then treat their drivers better. You treat your drivers better. It's like, you know what? My buddy over there at XYZ Trucking Company, man, he's making a little bit more than me. But, I'm kind of loyal to old Luke there, So when we go to build loyalty, people don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. I don't want to leave someone I have a personal relationship with. It'd be like me saying I want to leave my marriage. I have a perfectly happy marriage, 14 years, no issues. We have 2 beautiful kids. I'm just going to leave my marriage for what? I got to have a reason to leave.
Number 2, embrace your role to support drivers. So in the second clip, we have Tracy Rushing sharing how there's only 2 roles in a trucking company. One of those roles is to drive a truck, and the other role is to support the driver.
So we do think that there are 2 types of employees in trucking, and I think that as we see this be adopted through the industry, it's making a difference for our drivers. And I believe that when you kind of put the refocus back on, am I going to drive the tractor, or am I going to support the person who drives the tractor? There's a million ways to do that, but when you categorize the 2 types of employees within a trucking company or contractors, however your company is structured, if you are driving the truck, then you need support. You need support in the shop. You need support. You need somebody to meet you at the door when you get here and say, how can we service your tractor? Sometimes it's just a preventative maintenance. Sometimes it's because there's been a breakdown. But the person who meets you at the door, meets you in the bay, meets you in the oil lane, the safety lane, whatever it may be, the goal, when it aligns, should be the support of that driver. If I do my very best at correcting whatever this mechanical issue is, that driver is safer, the driver is on time, the driver is able to generate more revenue. If I'm the driver manager and I sit down at my desk and I've got a ton of loads that need to be assigned to a tractor and I've got to figure out feasibility, and I do that from a place of supporting the driver, well, this driver's got Little League on Tuesday, so I don't want to give them this load, and this driver's got a doctor's appointment on Thursday, or, this driver's got 3 weeks to run. Let's put him on a longer load or, a longer run. If those tasks are done from the position of how am I best supporting the driver, then that driver in turn supporting us is a no-brainer. Like, their actions they're going to have an easier time of it, less areas of complication. And I think it really keeps us on focus of every single thing I have to do is significant because it is driver focused. There are no insignificant things that have to be done. If I'm a custodian over in our driver's lounge and I know that some drivers are going to get here at 3 a.m. and need clean towels, if I'm putting the towels out for the purpose of supporting the driver so that they can get a full 10-hour rest break, it's not just folding towels anymore. It's about the person that's going to impact. And I have seen that over the last several years make a big difference in our culture shift at Garrison. Garrison was well on its way to establishing the culture that you see here today. And I couldn't be more proud that when we have our industry friends come in, that's what you leave talking about. So Garrison decided who it was, put it down on paper, did the work, wrote a mission, put their vision out, established their core values. And that's not easy to get a group of people to align on who are we. And so when we really started focusing on how do we breathe life into that, it was, if I am, if community is the core value that I'm working on today, or the thing that I'm going to be involved in today, am I the driver or am I the person who needs support today? We say at Garrison that we build our legacy one drive at a time. And I think something that has translated well outside of the cab is I have to determine what my drive is every day. Today, my drive is meeting with you to do a podcast and hope that, we leave little tidbits of goodness around by doing a great podcast today. But tomorrow, I'll be with some drivers who need some remedial training. And so my drive will be different tomorrow. And I think that Garrison and our leadership team does a really good job of keeping us focused on, if you're not driving the truck, then your function is to support the person who drives the truck, whether that is a clean financial statement at the end of the month or an on-time, fuel tax payment, or, the things that keep our drivers moving. And I think having that adopted so well has made even a larger impact than I could have wished for or hoped for, because it is vitally important that your support staff, the people who are outside of the cab, understand there's no insignificant thing that you're going to do today. There's not an insignificant phone call you're going to make. There's not an insignificant cup of coffee you're going to share with the driver today. And I think that it keeps us energized.
Number 3, communicate open and honestly. I was super excited to have Chris Harbin on the show a while back. And he just communicates the importance of asking amazing questions. And then also just to make that a two-way conversation as you listen to drivers and really truly hear what they need in the new role.
Well, you think about it, when you're trying to get a driver to come to work with you, the one thing that he or she is going to do is ask questions. They want to know the information. They want to know about pay, of course. They want to know about routes. They want to know about the management team. They want to know the locations and all this good stuff. Well, it all starts with picking up the phone, answering the call, communicating to that driver. When you're conferencing them in with the terminal manager that he or she will be working for, it's all about communicating that information back and forth. Communication is the key to success with just about anything. If you don't communicate with people, the information that you're trying to get over to him or her is gone from the get-go. My team, I'm big on communicating the drivers what they need, where they at with that driver will coming aboard. If the phone rings, pick it up and answer. It's just huge with recruiting. If you can't answer the phone, you can't relay that information around, you're lost from the get-go. These days, you have all the other companies. Some companies have a large amount of people who are out calling these drivers, trying to get them on and all that. We're not that company to do that. We have a smaller group, but we stick with the facts. We live by, again, what we just said, communication. Answer the phone, relay the right information. Let's get that driver in as quickly as possible, but don't beat around the bush and tell them misleading information. And I have been, not only I, but my team and I have been very successful with doing it.
Now let's take a minute to thank today's sponsor. Do you hire truck drivers in hard-to-fill areas, or do you need help creating efficiency in your recruiting department? You're not alone. With 50-plus years experience, Trucking Clicks specializes in data-driven strategies, industry-leading customer experience, and custom solutions that'll get you to your goal. Trucking Clicks is your go-to place for high-quality, direct leads at scale. Visit truckingclicks.com or call 512-982-0816 today. Number 4, continue the conversation beyond orientation. Continue the conversation beyond orientation. So I had the privilege of interviewing Stacy and Sandy with Hobby Lobby, and they're just incredible relationship builders. And so one of the things that they highlighted is that you always need to continue that conversation well after bringing the driver on, like through orientation and often years beyond, and just make sure that the drivers are getting out of it what they need, and you can really boost your retention.
We make an effort to walk the halls, and we see so-and-so that just started, 2 weeks ago. We're stopping them. How's your route? Is the truck good? We just keep interacting with them. We'll go to the break room and get a drink, and we'll see one of the new teams in there. We might sit down and ask them what's been going on. Are they getting home on time? Is it what they thought it was going to be? So
they're getting enough miles.
Yes, enough
and
miles.
Stacy's real good about staying up with them for the first week or two, actually, because she plans out what they're going to do during that week. She came from dispatch, so she knows how to do that portion of it. And she stays with them. We book their hotel for the week, the whole bit. They do a pattern we set up for them. And they only have one day in the office, and from then on, it's out on the road. And so she keeps a real good track of them for the first week or two. And then I call them somewhere between 60 and 90 days, really to find out if everything's going the way they thought it was going to. If they have any problems, if somebody's not helping them, maybe they have a route they don't like or don't care for. Maybe it's not the days that they wanted at home. We can't always adjust that, but there is a wish list they can get on at some point. But we want to make sure they're getting enough miles. Everything that we talked to them about before we brought them on, we want to make sure they've seen each one of these things, that there's not any problems.
Number 5, be available. Rodney and his team are excellent examples of just being available and communicating that to all the drivers they have come in. Just the phrase, call me, call anyone, anytime, I think communicates that value from upper management for the drivers and how that they're available, like when the drivers might hit a hard spot.
Yeah, it's pretty, unfortunately, there's not much that we're different than the other carriers or the competitors are. I do feel like it's a smaller company. Therefore, I can sell the family feel, the team concept. If you have a problem, call me, call anyone. And I think as far as recruiting goes, that's key. Always be available. You mentioned that short out that you get. Once you start building that relationship, then at that point you follow up. Things change 3 months down the road. Things change 6, 9 months down the road. So you never just drop someone off unless they clearly say, hey, I'm not a flatbed driver anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? Then we move on. Other than that, we leave the door open because you never know what's going to change for that individual down the road.
Number 6, hire for culture. Lance Christensen dives into how it's not just about paying the drivers more, the fleet that pays the most. You really need to focus on that culture. And so this highlight is really focusing on building a culture within your fleet that keeps these drivers around for a long time.
Yeah, pay has always been important. Part of the different roles I've had as a recruiting leader, and one that I just ran last night, was a market comparison for pay modeling. When you've got drivers, obviously pay matters. Dollars always matter. When somebody has a job and somebody offers them a little bit more per year, a little bit more per hour, their eyes and ears open and they're ready to listen. So obviously pay is a factor. Now, should it be the determining factor is the problem. When you make it the determining factor, you get people to come work for your company for money. And yes, they will come to work for you. Problem is, being the top payer in an industry and trying to maintain that, it's a game. You constantly have to know who's paying more, and you do this leapfrog process where you're always having to stay on top, or you're going to lose your money. You're going to lose your employees because you do not have the top compensation anymore. When you're attracting people for money, you're attracting the same people that are going to leave you later because you fall below market. So it's kind of that little rat race. If you attract employees for other reasons, more tangible reasons, more lasting reasons that don't need to be constantly maintained, culture is a huge one. When people want to come work for you because you're the awesome place to work, not just because it's money, because you've got cool people, you've got a cool culture, you've got great benefits, you treat people right, they come and they stay. And it's not about money. And that's easier to maintain.
Number 7, solve retention issues. Was super excited to have Sadie on the show, and she shared how taking time to fix the retention issues goes hand in hand with a successful recruiting strategy.
On the recruiting side, like I always tell people, recruiting is, you're filling a bucket and you don't want the bucket to be full of holes. So you're just recruiting drivers. They're coming in one door, they're going out the other door. We want to set the right expectation, retain as much of our fleet as possible, because at the end of the day, that's going to lower your cost per hire. It's going to lower your turnover. And then if you are setting the right expectations with your drivers and you are recruiting and hiring ethically, your driver is going to be happier and they're going to refer more drivers. And we've always found that obviously referrals are going to drive down your cost per hire even further. You can reduce your ad budget even more if your drivers are referring other drivers for you. And we've also found that we have higher retention with our referred drivers. They have a lifeline at the company they know to go to for help. So we also see better retention rates with referrals as well.
Number 8, nurture growth in your recruiting team. Bobby Leach talks about coaching and inspiring growth in recruiters through self-evaluation.
So I started out in recruiting. It is my first love, and recruiters have an extremely difficult job, especially when you're getting told no all day and it can seem like, things are just kind of, you just want to get to the next yes. So it can always be a difficult position, and I sympathize and empathize with every recruiter out there. One of my favorite things as far as coaching a recruiter is to let them evaluate themselves first. I think that as long as most people are self-aware enough to hear when they didn't have a stellar call or when they had an amazing call. And so I think if you, pick out a call, send it to the recruiter, and ask them, what did you like about this call? What do you think you could do better? And let them evaluate themselves. And then you also evaluate alongside of them when you guys discuss it. That has been, I would say, one of the more powerful things that I learned was to let people listen to themselves first. And they'll recognize when they're doing things good and not so good in the future.
Number 9, clean data feeds your funnels. And so Brad Hackett talks a lot about just how you need really clean data in all of your systems, and specifically just really thinking through how do you set up your applicant tracking system. All of those things are really going to help you boost those recruiting numbers.
Great question, Aaron. One thing, I spent a decade in operations before being thrown in this wild world of driver marketing, recruiting, onboarding, retention kind of sector here. First thing there is make sure your ATS and the vendors that you use, the data starts with what is feeding your funnel. So understanding your funnel, those key metrics, your cost per lead that's entering into your ATS, how are you converting those leads to applications? What does your approval process time look like internally as the drivers go through those steps? Those are key areas for not only your recruiters to help fine tune and maximize their skills, but also to make those financial decisions that you're spending a lot of money on all of those efforts, making sure you're not dropping candidates through each of those steps, and then also fine tuning those adjustments so that you can maximize your spend and ultimately get the best performance out of your marketing and your recruiting efforts.
Thank you for joining us today. Our goal with the Hire Truckers podcast is to provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to level up your recruiting game. If we added value, take a few seconds to share this with your network. Have a great week.